Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me. Recently, I was finishing up a show about a man named Walter Rodney. I noticed a LinkedIn security notification, but I didn't think much about it. Yesterday, I was looking at the notifications because it ended up I got several, and I looked at them more carefully. And I realized this was way more than one login attempt. There had been multiple attempts from Germany, Belgium, Montreal, and Amsterdam. I would have to say some of my favorite locations. Good morning, Belgium. How you guys doing over there? That's when it dawned on me that this was something I probably shouldn't be ignoring. I've had a LinkedIn account for years. I rarely visit it, no longer really use it. As a matter of fact, on air, I have said that I don't like even going to LinkedIn. So at the time years ago, I tried to remove my LinkedIn account, and really, I don't know how you delete a LinkedIn account. I was unsuccessful. So anyhow, as I go along, I had been working on this show about another car bomb victim. While researching the murder of journalist Daphne Galiza in Malta, I began looking at other people around the world who had also been killed by car bombs. Welcome to my world. That research eventually led me to Walter Rodney. Walter Rodney's story is fascinating. He spent years under government surveillance before he was murdered by a car bomb in Guyana in 1980. I'll come back to Walter Rodney in another show because his story is important and helps explain why I was already thinking about some of these things. The timing certainly caught my attention. The activity began with a verification request from Stuttgart, Germany, that's Stuhr, at 10:44 in the morning. Then nothing happened for the next 4 hours and 35 minutes. At 3:19 that afternoon, another verification request came from Brussels, Belgium. 1 minute later, another verification request came from Amsterdam. I started thinking, oh, my favorite friends are getting a hold of me. 1 minute after that, a second verification request came from Amsterdam. And I thought, hey, slow down, Amsterdam. I haven't had time to answer your email. But during that same minute, LinkedIn notified me that a new email address had been added to my account. Then just 1 minute later, LinkedIn reported that a new device had signed in from Montreal, Canada. In other words, after more than 4 hours of nothing, the account activity accelerated dramatically. Within about 3 minutes, there were verification requests from Brussels and Amsterdam. An email address was added to my account, and a new device sign-in was reported from Montreal. So, let me see here. I haven't seen problems here. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. So, I've been around computers long enough to remember the hacking culture of the 90s. I actually think of it quite fondly. People got hacked all the time back then. I even spent some time hacking. During the John Benet Ramsey case, I hacked into the servers being run by John Ramsey. Everyone at the time thought I was a skilled hacker. I just happened to know people and where to look. Even all those years ago, I would have been more careful than these folks have been. Maybe they're sending me a message. Or they're a gang of people who should get out of the hacking game. I only got caught in the Ramsey case because someone I trusted blurted it out online that I had hacked into their account and exposed them. But we didn't leave a trail when we got to their servers. Back then, they were also they were questionable, right? They convinced everybody on the forum that I was on that I was a hacker and dangerous to be around. Then they went to hide out in chat rooms conspiring. Well, how do I know this? Well, because we had a bot in their chat room. They weren't the swiftest of people, to put it mildly. So that's one reason why I was looking at these sequences and thinking, what is this all about? It was Germany. Then my favorite places. The activity does not really strike me as being done by a professional hacker. For example, here's how I think the story laid out. Probably they've been meeting and talking about me in chat rooms or something. They've had some meetings, right? Or somebody's been talking about me and wanting more information. Well, I'm not really clear why you'd hack into a LinkedIn account when you could look at the information without hacking in, but maybe they were looking for people I'd communicated with or whatever. Well, here's how I see the story playing out. And remember, I'm just playing here and I'm just guessing. So they've been meeting for weeks trying to figure out who is this Diane person in Nebraska, right? So one morning, the dude in Germany wakes up. Hey, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to take care of this myself. And so he goes over to his little desk and his computer, tries to log on to LinkedIn, and says, damn, it didn't go through. I thought I could make this work. So then he sends a message to the rest of the gang. He sends a message to Amsterdam, Germany, and the people in Montreal, and says, hey, we got to meet up later and deal with this problem. So they obviously met up later and dealt with the problem, right? Now, I have to say they were likely in a chat room together, because this rapid fire activity doesn't happen if you're exchanging texts or if you're emailing each other, because you couldn't email and text back and forth and have to say, okay, you try it next. Okay, you go next. Or they're just a bunch of out of control people. I mean, there's several options here, right? But it didn't strike me as a professional hack job. So anyway, so I really have no idea what their motivation is. Maybe the timing was a coincidence. So anyhow, so I have all the documentation and I documented it all. I can show you the locations that were reported, explain what is located in these areas and all that. So let's go through this timeline, how I was looking at it all. The first notification arrived at 10:44 a.m. LinkedIn generated a verification request and reported that the approximate location was Stur, Germany, just outside the city of Bremen, Bremen. Well, so I started looking into what's around Stern. Stern is located immediately southwest of Bremen in the German state of Lower Saxony. While Stur itself is a relatively small municipality, the surrounding Bremen region is an important transportation, logistics, and aerospace center. The area includes the Bremen Airport, major shipping routes. Pay attention to that. Major shipping routes through Bremerville and the AI Autobahn, one of Germany's busiest transportation corridors, linking Scandinavia and Central Europe. Bremen is also the home of the Airbus Defense and Space Operations and some other defense electronics, and the satellite company OHB, one of Europe's leading space technology companies. The nearby Regional Territorial Command Bremen serves as the Bunschweiser military liaison for the state of Bremen, and Germany has recently expanded Bremen's role in maritime and space defense. So that's where the dude from Germany was hanging around. The next notification arrived at 3:19 in the afternoon. This one listed the approximate location as Brussels, Belgium, and I perked up and I thought, my friends, they're contacting me. So then I looked at the location. Brussels is home to NATO political headquarters, the European Union institutions, the Belgian federal government, and numerous embassies. They have permanent NATO delegations there, European Union representatives, United Nations liaison offices, and many international organizations. It is one of the world's major centers for international diplomacy and government. So then, only 3 minutes later, at 3:22, LinkedIn notified me that there had been a sign-in attempt from a new device. This time, the approximate location was Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Montreal is one of Canada's largest financial, telecommunications, and technology centers. It is also home to McGill University, because the name rang a bell. McGill University and the Allen Memorial Institute where Dr. Ewan Cameron, Camer, conducted the CIA-funded MK-Ultra experiments. Beyond that history, Montreal remains a major communications and financial hub with significant federal government offices and telecommunications infrastructure. Later, I received 2 more LinkedIn verification requests. One arrived 1 minute apart. Both listed Amsterdam, Netherlands. Amsterdam is one of Europe's largest internet infrastructure centers. It is home to AMS, one of the largest internet exchanges, along with extensive international data centers, multinational hosting providers, and major communications networks that route internet traffic throughout Europe. So by this point, I had documented 4 recorded locations: Stur, Germany; Brussels, Belgium; Montreal, Canada; and Amsterdam was twice. Although they are located in different countries, each of these places serves as an international hub connecting with transportation, communications, finance, government, defense, or technology. So, and that was the point where the notifications changed, and instead of another verification request, LinkedIn informed me that a new email address had actually been added to my account. So it looked like they were inside of my account. And I have the email address posted right down below. It's something like JNYAD, something at a Hotmail address, okay? And that was really the first real big piece of evidence that I had. So, unlike an approximate location, an email address is something specific that can be documented. I also noticed that it was a Hotmail account. Hotmail was one of the dominant email services during the earliest of the public internet in the late 1990s and 2000s. So what was this all about? Frankly, I don't know. What I do know is that for years I have been researching and interested in international trade routes. Routes have been my fascination all this time. I found that route coming out of Iran that they were running drugs in. I mean, routes are really something I have been really kind of focused on a lot. So when I researched the murder of Daphne in Malta, the journalist that was murdered by a car bomb there, I knew that she had been investigating financial networks, offshore structures, and the movement of money. I had no inside knowledge of exactly where her investigation was leading. So I began following what I believed were some of the most significant financial routes myself to see where they led. I found a great deal of information and I did a podcast about it, and that link is down below. The title was this: What do Netflix, Pornhub, gaming giants, gambling sites, Wall Street, and private equity have in common? Moving billions across borders to cheat billions in tax. And then I also said Khazar trade routes to the Knights of Malta and the car bomb murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia. So was I following the same trail Daphne was on? I really don't have a clue. I never knew Daphne. I never met her. I never spoke to her, and I had no way of knowing exactly where her investigation was leading. She was murdered in a car bomb in Malta before she likely got her work finished. What I did find interesting is that many of the industries that I had been researching and others operate across multiple countries. These industries frequently make use of international financial centers, favorable tax jurisdictions, and major communications hubs. And at that time, they were making a big change to their financial route, which I found fascinating, right? So places like Amsterdam, Brussels, Malta, London, Luxembourg, and Dublin appear repeatedly in discussions involving European finance, regulation, and data. So then independently, the LinkedIn notifications reference several international hubs: Stern, Germany; Brussels, Montreal, and Amsterdam. So Anyway, so they seem to be in a rush to get me off the game board. They've been making my home toxic since early 2020. Their plan was actually a pretty good one. They almost killed me. Almost. This is the final battle between good and evil. I am sick and dying thanks to them. Thanks to them. I have zero motivation to play nice. I know this isn't my only life. I will return home and this tired, beat up body will stay behind. This is not my home. This is not my body. Just part of the game board plan. So no matter how much pain I may or may not be in, I know I am not going where you people are going. My soul is still mine. I did not sell out.